Social networking and currency and cloud are certainly highly sought after, at least in some circles, but does it really affect your bottom line? I'm joined by Jacob Soboroff in studio.
Great to be here.
Great to see you dash in at the last minute right before we got started.
Well, thank you.
I don't know who this guy is, but I'm super excited to see where this goes. I also am joined by several fantastic community members. We have with us Ryan Kristopher, who is the CEO of VERVE Management, which is an internet marketing and social media firm. We have also Micah May, senior strategist at Red Magnet Media in San Francisco. We have Jeff Trappell, screenwriter, freelance journalist in Los Angeles. And we have John Shaw, tax accountant in Salt Lake City, Utah. John, I almost didn't say hello.
That's all right.
How dare I?
We tax accountants never get any respect. So
that's yeah. You know what? Let's show him some
respect.
It's
like secretly, I'm already lamenting my IRS owings.
Can I also say oh, go ahead. Sorry, John.
If you file an extension, your extension will be due by October 15th. So I'm just letting you know.
Free tax advice. Technically, it's more just of the calendar nature, but this is free tax advice.
By the way, we're two headsets short of mission control in this hangout because
that's so true.
Because the guys on the side are both wearing
guys,
them. We should all have them.
You got the good stuff on. You got the good stuff. Micah, you not so much. John, you don't even have headphones in.
I don't even have anything.
Thank you for the mission control remark.
No problem.
So, guys, I guess my first question is, doesn't it kind of matter what you do for a living in order for social capital to really affect your bottom line, for it to really benefit you? I mean, Micah, I know you got a job off of Twitter. In fact, I think I have your blog up. Yeah, the Micahzine. For Christmas, I got a new job. Why don't we start with you? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I grew up in the Bay Area, born and raised. I think I osmotically absorbed a lot of that early adopter tendency. So for 2 years, I was tweeting to myself, and I thought Twitter was cool, but didn't know how to use it yet.
Okay.
Finally, as my friends started signing online, I was on there more often. Hootsuite, TweetDeck, all those technologies came out. So I spent more time on it, and I started following brands. And I followed one brand who had some amazing men's sneakers. They were Japanese inspired, or Japanese style influenced. And I just love sneakers. So I am a big hip hop fan. I love Pumas. I love certain Adidas shoes.
I think I pulled up a picture of these sneakers, no? From your blog.
That's one of my, that's the brand. So
lizard feet.
They're crazy.
Oh.
I mean, I have green hair. Why not?
I love your green hair.
So really, I was lamenting, and I was being, I just tweeted out to Ether, like, why doesn't this company Moxie have these shoes in women's sizes? Why doesn't Heyday Footwear make this shoe in a women's size? My issue is not that I want to buy pink girly sneakers.
Yeah,
I wanted
I hear you.
the men's size.
I have lamented the same. I have lamented the same.
So eventually this tweet got out to the company Moxie. They tweeted me back, and they're like, hey, sorry it didn't work out, but would you like a discount code for your blog readers? And I was like, yes, why not? So we conversed some more. They saw that I've written before, that I have this marketing background, that I'm into nerdy things like social media before it was hip.
How dare you?
And we got a really good rapport going. And basically I started doing freelance for them. And then in 2 months, that turned into a full-time job. I now work at Red Magnet Media, where I do that on a larger scale. So I've taken what I know about being involved with social circles, about making a brand seem personal, and I've applied that to bands like Linkin Park, Duran Duran. We work with a new pop band who's breaking out in the US from Asia called Blush. They're all learning the techniques of being a lot more relatable because they're using social media like a personal voice.
Okay, so your story is probably super common. I'm sure this happens to everyone.
I think it's really increasing.
Do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. If you think about it, if you want to hire somebody who's going to really represent your brand and your company, even if it's not in marketing, if you know that they have a following of 600 people on Tumblr, like 500 devoted Twitter followers, and people who always comment on their Facebook posts, you know that they bring a lot as a brand rep in their everyday lives.
Okay, so John, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just got real excited about hearing about how Twitter probably got John his job as a tax accountant. John?
Oh, no.
It's almost like I knew the answer before I asked the question.
I barely even tweet myself. I don't know. You know, the deal is with all of us in the old guard, when we talk about accounting or finance, so we talk about econometricians, those engineering. Social media doesn't really have that relevancy that it does to, let's say, you know, Mika's position or an editorial position or what have you. We find that the social currency doesn't readily translate into the bottom line or the bottom dollar for increased value for our
Is that even true?
For our trade.
Is that even true with something like LinkedIn or things that purport to sort of connect more of the, you know, quote, old guard, as you called it?
Well, this is the deal. Everyone goes to LinkedIn and
I've never been on LinkedIn.
Me either. Just saying. Just saying.
Do you have a LinkedIn account?
I don't have one. Neither of us do.
I don't either. Some of my friends do, but
do you guys show of hands if you have a LinkedIn?
I don't have one.
Ryan and Micah, you don't even need yours. Ryan, you don't need yours. You started your own thing.
Sorry, John.
Right. We don't.
Go ahead.
We don't necessarily have. Yeah, but the deal is with LinkedIn and what have you. It's not insofar as much as it's social currency. It's as though it's in the hopes of you gaining, you know, greater access to another network, another social group that you wouldn't have one before, that you didn't have, you wouldn't be a part of before.
I guess that's a good point. That's a good point, because what I was going to say was, I feel like in the media world, it's all a bit of we all pat each other on the backs. I don't know, I was going to use a crazier term, but I'm just going to say we all just sort of scratch each other's backs.
You're
and
staying above waist, and I appreciate that.
Exactly.
I appreciate it.
It's a group back scratch. It's a group back scratch.
Adore you.
Thank you. And you can find me on my Twitter account, at Jacob Sobro. What I was going to say is, no, we all scratch each other's backs. We're all excited about the Twitter followers. But in the real world, if we broke down the numbers, and I don't have the stats, I bet you that there's maybe 10, 15, 20,000 people who have, you know, a fair amount of Twitter followers in the thousands or whatever, or maybe it's 100,000. But you know how many people have 65 Twitter followers, 20 Twitter followers? But John's point is a good one, which is in your own circles.
Your sort of aspiration to be. But Brian, let's go to you, because maybe you can respond to some of this. I mean, if you are a person with, you know, I've got your, let me pull up your website. I've got, wait, this is not your website. I was going to say, if this is a website, I don't know how fancy it is. I would expect something fancier from you. What I've got is Market Me.
Which website do you have?
This is Market Me IT. And for a second, I got scared, like, oh, Ryan, you have got to jazz this up a little bit.
No, actually,
but this is more of a. Go ahead.
My website is the company website is VERVEMGMT.com.
Let's pull that up.
If you go to VERVEMGMT.com, you'll see what we're all about.
Here it is.
There we go. That's what I'm talking about.
Look at that beauty.
Right. Let's if you could speak to that a little bit. Like, if you are sort of living in a non-media centric world, how much are you going to benefit, and are you really going to benefit in that same way?
Right. Well, I think it's true that for more of a media-centric world, it's a little more obvious and easier to use these mediums for the purposes that we've been discussing. But I absolutely believe that for somebody who is not in that world, can still find a lot of value from these different platforms, because first and foremost, it gives you an opportunity to connect with your industry. If you're not trying to actually grow a business using social media, you're not trying to find leads, you can still use it to connect with the rest of your industry, to keep current with what's going on, to find new job opportunities, to establish yourself as an expert in the industry. And for clients of ours that are more into business-to-business relationships, they tend to find it harder to use some social media in certain industries. And so what we tend to do with them is we'll use social media to just make that first initial contact with a business contact, and then bring it offline.
Okay.
So,
well, that makes sense to me. That makes sense to me. Jeff, let's go over to you. You are a writer, so I feel somehow like I want to say that you fall kind of in between. And by the way, excellent Labyrinth poster behind you.
I knew you were going to say that.
Man, that thing is like super dark. I don't even know how, but I know David Bowie with that wig on when I see it.
I mean, who doesn't want to go to sleep with David Bowie looking down on you?
I think we're all a little disappointed it's not a full size with him and those like jodhpurs, because they were very clingy. So I'm sorry that David Bowie upstaged you for a second, but I feel like, I don't know, maybe a writing gig to me seems like it sort of falls in between. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily, I don't know, unless you are really active in social media, or if you like to sort of do the small sound bites of Twitter, or like how does it work for you?
Well, the thing is like there are maybe like 15 people that are actually giving serious music journalism a go at this point. So being connected to those people through Facebook or Twitter or even old school message boards is a great way to get gigs. I got a gig writing for Metal Edge a few years back when that magazine was still around, through someone I met via social networking. And I've got another paying freelance jobs through that. So keeping in touch with those people in the freelance world is key. And even in the world of screenwriting, being able to friend those people on Facebook and keep them kind of passively reminded that you still exist is a great way to, just keep them in mind. So if they're like, hey, you need someone to do such and such, then they can go, oh, hey, this person who keeps filling up my Facebook feed, maybe they can do it.
I feel like so many people think that about Facebook at this point, that I worry that it's almost clogging the machine in that way, though. This idea that, like, John, you agree with that? That there's sort of like, if I'm just around, I don't even know. Like, I don't look at any Facebook stream anymore because I just can't. I can't even. I'm not gonna ever see anything. Is I guess what I'm saying.
I was wondering
so fast.
why you didn't tell me that you thought that I had a nice barbecue over the weekend.
I know you are but you're the king of that. You're the king of that, and I'm absolutely not. John, you were agreeing with me. Listen to me. I want to let the guy who agrees with me talk.
John, tell Janet how wonderful she is.
Yeah, well, let me start a Facebook page for that.
Fantastic. I'll never look at it, but I appreciate knowing it's out there.
John for the win.
I'm teasing you, Jeff, of course.
What I was going to say is that none of my clients have a Facebook page just to sell, their cars or their smokes out of a smoke shop or anything. We're talking about small business clients. But I want to get to the differentiation between the social media and the social currency. And that social currency, you see that we have social currency for the gaming, all the farm bill or something.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to bring that up, too. I'm actually really glad you brought that up, because I know that gamers do trade online currency that doesn't exist in any kind of a paper form. It's all virtual.
Remember Second Life?
And Bitcoin. I did a whole segment on Bitcoin. I walked away still not understanding Bitcoin. A little bit.
My first
Nobody understands Bitcoin.
My first job was in social gaming, and it was right at the cusp of Facebook opening up to beyond edu addresses. Mm-hmm. It was before ads, before groups, before pages. Yeah. And people were all trying to crack this idea of a virtual economy. And it's, despite how annoying those Mafia Wars, Cityville updates are, people are paying microtransactions happily.
Do you remember when people were paying like $1? And I will admit it, I did it. I'm very sorry to say. I paid $1 or $2 or whatever it was to send people like birthday hats,
like a Blue Mountain animated greeting
card.
I am a fool.
But a lot of us just agree. But let me ask this question, and I don't mean to segue too quickly off of using currency for things like gaming and things like Bitcoin that are certainly making a monetary impact, even just in the virtual world, and stockbrokers are investing in stuff like Bitcoin as well. But Tony Baloney, I always love being able to quote Tony Baloney.
Prolific HuffPost Live commenter.
Oh, no, you know what? This is actually BBB Mayor who was responding to Tony Baloney.
I think it's actually BBB Emmer, like BBM.
Got it.
Why don't you let us know, BBB Emmer?
Yeah, sometimes it's hard for us to listen. This is the world that we live in. Speaking of social capital, we know these people by Twitter handles and stuff.
There's a conversation going on in the comments about whether or not HuffPost Live is social media.
I don't know that listen, I should be doing much better in all aspects of my life.
It's very meta, and my brain is going to implode if we have that conversation.
This is part of this conversation. On this one, I agree with you. LinkedIn just seems a means to invade one's privacy with one's permission. And I want to ask that question, which isn't it true that Facebook and LinkedIn are accessing information from you? I mean, who's really gaining from social capital? Who really has the social capital and social currency? Isn't it these companies that we are relying on?
That's right. The companies that actually control the marketplace, the companies that actually control the platforms, are the ones that have the ability to leverage and thus change and thus transpose that social currency into actionable dollars, into real dollars, into producing power dollars.
Ryan, do you agree with that? Oh, sorry, John. I totally cut you off.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I actually think it's a shared ownership because you know, we need the platforms to be able to generate our own currency, but they also need us to use the platform and create that currency. So for those of us that are effectively using social media, we're the ones actually creating the value, which makes the site in turn valuable, as well as creating our own value for ourselves. So I definitely think it's a shared ownership of the currency that's being created.
Okay, and what I want to say, I want to jump in and just say this. This is just my personal view. I haven't gone out and done any econometric formulas or data or data collection or data mining or anything. But I'm just saying that what I'm seeing is a creeping. What I see is that who actually owns who actually owns the data that you put forth, you know, in LinkedIn and Facebook? You don't own it, right? The company has the bargaining position and the power to actually own your data, and so they're making money not from a unique product that they are creating, but from a product that they've taken from you, right? Which is your data, your web browsing behavior. All of this stuff is interconnected. And at the end of the day, you know, you don't have the power to take that back. They have the power. Matter of fact, in one instance on Facebook, I think it was a Huff post, I believe, long ago, before Huff Post Live.
The dark days.
In the old days, this one girl, she had died. She had passed away, and the only thing that her parents wanted was her memorabilia, her photos from Facebook. And Facebook rejected the parents and said, no, you can't have any of this information. And so they had to go to court, right, and actually sue Facebook for the information. So bottom line is, what I'm saying is that social media,
that brings up a privacy issue that's completely different.
But social media, but again, you have to admit that insofar as much as you're able to leverage the power from social media, that the companies actually have a greater bargaining position, or a greater or a higher bargaining position with which to leverage your data to translate that into actionable dollars.
But in a situation like Micah's, I mean, Micah, if I were in your position, I would say it was worth it. I mean, I would probably just say
the paradox of having, you know, amazing clout, amazing Twitter followers, a ton of, you know, blog readers, is that if you come into a situation with Facebook where you want those images and you can't get them from the company, the more of an audience you have, the more chance you have of getting attention on Huffington Post, where they'll cover your case and how egregious Facebook is being. So it's really what you put into it and what you're trying to get out of it.
Speaking of
what you put valuable things in there, then you control it, because you have a ton more influence than a company that someone doesn't feel connected to personally.
I want to speak to exactly what you just said about depending on what you put into it and what you're looking to get out of it, because before we started the segment, Jacob and I both had this conversation where we talked about...
we talk sometimes. Occasionally before segments, we do talk.
It's almost like we enjoy each other's company, guys.
Maybe.
But we were talking about the idea of crowd boost. Oh my gosh, I couldn't even remember what it was called.
Crowd
You know
booster?
what I'm talking about, guys. Ryan,
Crowdsourcing.
No. Crowd boost is a hold on, let me tell you. Crowd booster, social media marketing analytics optimization, and cloud.
And also,
they're really good friends of mine.
Okay, so we couldn't even remember what it's called, which speaks not ill of the company,
just
but of
goes
us.
to show what big losers we are.
And also clout, that, you know, we feel apprehensive about kind of turning a thing that we certainly understand that it's important for us.
I'm just nervous I'm going to have a crappy score.
Yeah, I mean, there is something to be said for, like, taking this thing that is intended. I mean, when Facebook just started, it was like, oh, here's a really cool way to connect with friends, and it's a really great way to maintain contact with people. And you don't necessarily translate that into a fiscal reward system. It becomes something that is more of a hobby. It's a representative of your personal self and your personality. And I think I responded to Twitter the same way. What were you saying, Jeff?
I was saying I actually only started a Twitter account 3 days ago because of the same concern. I didn't want people going like, oh, his clout score is low, so we don't want to hire him.
No, you're right. It's intimidating, isn't it?
The pressure to then immediately turn. And so, yeah, exactly. And so we were saying, wow, was this like this thing that we wanted to just be able to connect with viewers or connect with fans or connect with friends or whatever? And once you enter the kind of clout world, it starts to feel like, oh, is this going to be like a thing that depresses and stresses me out? Ryan, what do we do about that? Because you've made your business about this.
Well, I think it's ultimately, about transparency. And I think that it's about focusing on the platforms you're using and also diversifying the sites that you're using to grow your presence online. It's not really about focusing on your clout score. I mean, honestly, I take that stuff with a grain of salt because what it comes down to, it's about the real results that I'm trying to get out of it. And when I use Twitter or I use Facebook for myself or for our clients, like if we work with Lionsgate Entertainment or Hennessy or some of our other brands, it's not necessarily about building their clout score. It's about using the medium for a specific purpose and focusing on that goal throughout your process, on that site.
Which I guess for me still kind of just is like, just if the people following me like me, I don't know, maybe that's enough.
Yeah. Well, that's also a good point. I mean, the first thing you need to do, anyone who's watching right now and wants to use social media for any means, is determine what the goals are that you want to get out of it. It doesn't have to be growing a multi-million-dollar business. It could just be, trying to find your own brand, whether you're just an employee trying to find a job and learning about yourself. By interacting with the community online, you're going to accomplish those goals. And really all social media does is it facilitates the same type of relationships that we have offline. It just does it in an easier way. It's more fluid, and it connects you with a lot more opportunity, whatever that opportunity is that you're looking for.
That's actually a nice way to kind of button this conversation. Although I will say that I went from saying that I wanted people that followed me to like me to you planting the bug in my ear that I could use it to grow a multi-million-dollar company. Now I feel super conflicted again.
That sounds nice.
Guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us, for talking about this. Send me all your Twitter handles, and I will follow you.
Please help me increase my cloud score. I am so bummed.
All right, guys. See you all in the virtual land of riches aplenty.
Bye,
that's
guys.
where we're
See you in
all
Second Life.
Headed. Guys, we have just a bit more before we bid you goodnight. So if you stopped watching now, you would just be insulting us, and nobody wants that.
Don't do it.